The Hobie 16 rigging video is intended to be used in conjunction with your owner's assembly manual and complete assembly by your dealer. Read the manual thoroughly before attempting to go sailing. Hi, I'm Matt Miller, and I'm here with the Hobie Cat Company to help you rig your Hobie 16 more easily. I have a few tricks that can help you save some time in rigging, so you'll have some more time to sail. I've taken the shrouds, forestay, and the trapeze wires and run them in and out of 2 or 3 lacings on the trampoline. In this case, it's a one-piece trampoline with a lacing up the side. To keep the rudders in place while trailering, I've taken line and tied each corner of the tiller crossbar to the rear corner casting, one on each side. That keeps the rudders in place while trailering. When you're ready to step the mast, you need to pull the wires free of their hold down. Go ahead and grab it from the rear and pull the slack on through. Now I need to untie the mast and move it back. Now that you've untied the mast, it's ready to walk it back. Lift the mast out of its cradle, work your way to the middle, balance it, and walk it back. If you have someone helping you that can hold up the masthead, I'm rigging by myself, so I've just laid a piece of carpet at the rear crossbar and positioned the mast such that it's ready to plug into the front mast step. Now you need to install your mast bearing. It's a round piece of Teflon placed inside the mast step. Place it in such a way as when you step the mast base is going to force this into a small cup, creating a bearing for the mast to rotate on. Now install the mast step link by placing the pin through the mast base. This hinge keeps the 2 pieces together while you step the mast. When I step the mast by myself, when I don't have anyone to help me, I disconnect the dead end of the jib sheet from its tie-off point on the jib car. Using a 3/16 pin shackle wrapped around the end of the forestay cable, I tie that jib sheet to the shackle. When I get the mast stepped, I'll pull in on the jib sheet. It'll pull the forestay forward to its tie-off point at the bridles. That'll hold the mast up until I can get off the boat and use the main halyard to keep the mast up while I pin the forestay. I've shackled the jib clew blocks to the shackle at the bridle point in the center, just below the 10-hole adjuster. Next, you want to check your shrouds and trapeze wires, make sure that they're all hanging straight off the shackles on the mast. None of them are twisted upside down. But just make sure that they're all facing towards the base of the mast. Also, make sure that these shackles are extremely tight. You should have a safety wire in the main shackle. That'll keep the pin from turning, even though it becomes a little bit loose. Be sure that the shrouds are over the top of the trampoline, not tucked up underneath the rear crossbar. Make sure your trap wires are loose, not tied down. Take a look at your shrouds and the adjusters, make sure they're not twisted, facing towards the aft. Before you step your mast, you've got to take a look to make sure that there are no overhead power lines nearby. Contact with an overhead power line can cause injury or possibly even death to you or your crew. Make sure that there aren't any overhead power lines where you're stepping the mast or between you and the water. We're ready to step the mast. If you have difficulty with the techniques I'll describe, contact your dealer. They'll have products and techniques that can help you do it more easily. When you're ready to step the mast, go ahead and get up on the trampoline. Have your crew or helper lift up the back of the mast so you don't have to bend over. Now I'm doing this by myself, so I need to bend over. I'm putting my foot on the rear crossbar for support, not putting all the pressure on the trampoline. Bending over, try not to, not to stoop over. Bend your knees. Pick up the mast, get it up on your leg. Give it a little bounce, place it on your shoulder and turn sideways, both feet on the rear crossbar. Double check to make sure all the wires are free. And again, look for overhead power lines. Make sure you don't do that. No stepping the mast into power lines. Okay, I'm going to bend my knees and start. Push the mast all the way forward. I reach down and grab the jib sheets. That'll hold the mast up until I'm ready to pin a forestay. Otherwise, with your crew helping you, you can hold the mast here while they pin the forestay. Now when I'm stepping the mast by myself, I take now the main halyard and shackle it to the bow tang, put tension on it to hold the mast up so that you can ease the pressure off on the jib sheets and pin the forestay. Now I can release the pressure on the halyard and remove the mast step link. Place the forestay pinned at the top hole of the 10-hole adjuster. This forestay is intended to be loose. Be sure you release the mast step link kit, as the mast is intended to rotate in sailing. Now we're ready to raise the sails. It's best to raise the sails when the boat is on the beach, so it's more stable. Best not to raise the sails when it's on the trailer. As you move the trailer towards the water, if the wind shifts, it could cause some problems. So try to raise the sails when you're on the beach. Once you've rolled your sails out on the trampoline, you need to tension the battens in the sail. Push against the batten cap and pull on the tensioning line just enough to remove the wrinkles, and then cleat it. When you're cleating your batten caps, be sure you're cleating towards the direction that's dug out slightly and flattened. That's the side that holds. Pull the line through and then cleat it. Now we're ready to raise the sails. You want to pull the mainsail right up next to the mast. Now we're going to raise the mainsail first because you don't want the jib hitting you in the back of the head while you're doing the main. So start with the main. Grab the head of the sail. Attach the main halyard shackle. Put it up in its feeder, start it into the luff track, and grab the main halyard. Now the feeder's going to help the sail go up most of the way. Pull slowly so that it doesn't get caught. Right up near the top, it's best to give it a little help by pushing up on the sail just above the feeder. I push against the batten cap. Now that it's at the top, I'm going to pull out and away from the mast and then pull hard to get the mast cleat at the top, free, pulling close to the mast again, release the tension until it locks up underneath the two-finger prong. Up at the top, there's a two-finger prong. The halyard comes out away from it, let it down in close underneath it, release the pressure, and then the swedge will get caught underneath the two-finger prong. Once the sail's fully raised, I don't want to tie the halyard directly against the side of the mast, as this halyard sits out away from the mast and might catch on the jib when you tack. So I take the halyard, move it out behind the shrouds and the trapeze wires, back in against the mast. Now this is going to hold it further back in the back side of the mast. One more thing, I take it behind the downhaul cleat and then lightly tension it just to keep it from slapping against the mast. The excess halyard you can either stow away in a pouch, or else I'm going to tuck it up underneath the jib halyard when we set that up. One quick note when raising the sail, make sure that the outhaul is released. If the outhaul is pulled, it'll pull the sail out and away from the mast. When you're trying to get it up that last couple of feet, that'll restrict it. Okay. Also, when you're doing the downhaul, make sure the outhaul is released to fit the slide into the luff track. I fitted my boat with a block with a becket to make it a little easier to downhaul. The line runs down to the cleat through the middle. Run the line back through the block. You might have to pull on the slide a little bit to keep it in line when you downhaul. Just do enough downhaul to get it in the track and go ahead and tie it off. We'll do additional downhaul later. Now I'm ready to run the main sheet block, so I've released it from the front of the boom, laid it down on the trampoline. Now I'm going to pin it to the traveler car and then thread the traveler system. When threading your main sheet system, attach your main ratchet block to the traveler car. The other end of that line that comes out of the jaws comes back into the swivel jam cleat at the rear crossbar. The line runs aft, back out to the traveler car, the middle of these two rollers, out the back of the traveler car, through a stainless steel I-strap at the rear, tie a figure 8 knot. You've got control over traveler position. The tighter you pull here, the more it comes to the center. Whatever adjustment you make and cleat it will be equal adjustment on the opposite tack. Release it all the way, that'll allow the car to travel all the way out. I've added a knot so that the line can only come to one position, which stops the car from hitting the end of the track, which could damage the traveler car. Now we're ready to raise the jib. I've attached the tack of the jib to the 10-hole adjuster. We'll discuss the positioning a little bit later. Attach the halyard, pull the sail forward, and attach the jib hank. The jib hank guides the sail up the forestay. Raise the jib with the halyard, reach up, pull the loop of line free of the block and becket, place it under the loop underneath the cheek block, pull tension on the halyard, place the halyard underneath the cleat. To get additional halyard, cinch it up. You want it pretty snug so the rig's not flopping around. If you get it too tight, the mast won't rotate correctly. Take the excess halyard line, place it in a pouch on the trampoline, or as I do, I place it tucked underneath the halyard itself. That'll keep it there. Now you need to attach your jib clew blocks to the clew of the jib. There's 5 holes with which to choose from. I attach it to the middle one to start with. We'll discuss a little bit about adjusting to the other holes in just a moment. Make sure the shackle's snug because it's going to be flapping around. You don't want it to come loose. Make sure there's no twists in the jib sheets. Proper forestay tension on the jib wire inside the luff of the jib will allow the forestay that you used in rigging to go loose. That's the way it should be. Now we're ready to set the correct downhaul. Just as when you're raising the sails, when you're going to adjust downhaul using the main sheet system, like when you're raising the sails, make sure the boat is turned into the wind. I pull the main sheet forward on the trampoline so that I can do both the main sheet and the downhaul at the same time. I pull a little tension on the main sheet and then pull a little more until I get proper tension on the downhaul. Main sheet tension pulls the boom down, which makes the downhaul easier. Pull the wrinkles free of the sail. That's just all you need. Just pull the wrinkles out. We're just about ready to go sailing. Now I've got a couple more tricks, a little bit of tuning, a little bit of adjusting that can help you sail better. The hole position that you place the foot of the jib in at the forestay adjuster is going to make a difference in how much gap there is at the jib sheeting block. Sheeted snugly, there's lots of room between the clew block and the jib sheeting block. We can afford to go down a hole or two on the forestay adjuster. The higher the jib is on the forestay adjuster, the more the sail comes closer to the mainsail up at the top. That cuts off the airflow. You want to sail with the jib as low as possible. The only time you want it a little higher is if this jib clew block touches the jib sheeting block before you're fully sheeted. When making adjustments using the clew plate on your jib, the higher you place your blocks, the more it tensions the top of the sail by pulling down on the leech. The lower you place the clew blocks on this plate, the more it pulls back on the foot or lower part of the sail, trimming the lower part of the sail. The Hobie 16 performs best with a lot of mast rake. To find out whether or not you can go for a little more mast rake than you have already, sheet in hard on your main sheet blocks. If the blocks, when fully sheeted, aren't coming close to touching, then you can adjust for a little more mast rake. To adjust for that mast rake, adjust your shrouds to a lower hull position, and then retension your jib halyard. When tacking the Hobie 16, you backwind the jib to get the boat across the eye of the wind. Once across the eye, you ease the jib sheet and let it go across. As it goes across, the jib drags against the mast. I've cut my batten shorter so that they don't catch on the halyards. You can also place a little bit of tape over the end to protect it. Correct rudder lockdown and rudder rake is going to make a big difference on how the boat handles. To lock the rudders down, lift the tiller arm, make the rudder come in contact with the lower part of the casting. You'll hear it clunk, then drop the tiller arm straight down. You'll hear a lock. The way the system works, you can hit the beach, it'll kick the rudder up, or you can lift the arm and then pull it forward to get the rudder in the up position. The system runs with a black plastic cam, runs on a spring-loaded plunger through the middle of the casting. This cam is actuated by a plate that can be moved fore and aft on the upper rudder casting. You attain rudder rake adjustment with a set screw in the lower rudder casting and adjusting for tension on the upper rudder plate. The rudders, as you move them forward, will ease the pressure or weather helm. As you move them back, the weather helm or pull on the tiller will increase. If you've got a lot of pull on the tiller, either your rudder's not correctly locked or the rudder rake's not set properly. The more mast rake you put on the boat, the more weather helm you get with the rudders. You need to rake adjust forward to account for mast rake. Be sure to grease your cam occasionally. This cam system, operating on a spring-loaded plunger, requires grease in this area. The plastic Hobie Cat rudder has a slightly fatter trailing edge than just inside of this area. This fatter edge creates a hum when you move through the water. The rudder should be shaved down. I've actually shaved this one to a width about this wide using a scissor blade drawn across the blade here from about the area where it touches the water down to the tip. Shave that down a little bit, put about a 1/16 inch of flat on the back edge. That'll get rid of any hum. Well, that's it for me. We're all rigged and ready to go sailing. If you learn any tricks to help you rig a little quicker and spend more time sailing, let me know. I'm always looking for ways to save a little time so I have more time to sail. Take care.